Okay, so a couple things to remind you of as we get started. First of all, that the third reflection essay is due the 3rd, March 3rd. Hopefully, if you are watching this or listening to this after that, you have completed it. But make sure to get that essay in. Also, don't forget the second exam is a week from today, so March 10th. Make sure to be looking at the study guide. If you have any questions, get in contact with me about that. Also, don't forget, I sent out an email the other day about completing any assignments that haven't been completed to this point. Midterm grades are in, and a lot of you are probably not doing as well as you would like, and largely that comes from not completing some of the assignments. So, between now and spring break, I would encourage you to get as much as possible done, so that you can get some credit for that, and it can help boost your grade here as we're moving past midterm into the second half of the semester. Today we finish up with Buddhism. On Thursday a week ago, we had focused on talking about the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, and talking about his background in life, what tradition, according to tradition, had led him to become the Buddha, and some things related to that. We had also talked about some of the Buddhist teaching, what were the main points of Buddhism, and then where we finished up was talking about the different types of Buddhism, noting that there are 3 major types with a few subtypes that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Theravada, one of the older forms, Mahayana, also an umbrella term of several different types, and then Vajrayana or Tibetan Buddhism. And like I said, we'll talk about those distinctions a little bit more here. Theravada Buddhism, of course, we noted was a very conservative type of Buddhism, focused on the Four Noble Truths, emphasizing the monastic life, and not really looking at any innovations of Buddhism after that point. The ideal person within Theravada is the Arhat, the individual who through their own self-effort achieves nirvana. Mahayana, as we noted, is an umbrella term for a variety of Buddhisms that are focused on a more universal approach to Buddhism. The suggestion being that anyone can achieve nirvana, irrespective of whether you're a monk or a nun or just a common Buddhist. The hero in Mahayana Buddhism is the Bodhisattva. Right? This is the enlightenment hero, the individual who foregoes final nirvana in order to help other people reach it. So just to kind of sum up and compare these two, I want to note a couple things in thinking about how these two relate. Theravada, as we noted, emphasized the monastic life, renouncing your connections with family, taking on vows of poverty and chastity. These things were necessary to achieve nirvana. But for Mahayanists, anyone, even the common person, the laity, can achieve nirvana. You don't have to, shut yourself off from the rest of the world like you would as a monk or a nun. Theravada, of course, tended to focus on the historical Buddha, emphasize his life. There's something unique and special about him, where in many types of Mahayana Buddhism, Siddhartha Gautama is just one example of people who have taken on the mantle of a Buddha, an enlightened one. And so really Mahayana thinks, of course, that he's important, but that there are others out there that would be just as important as well. Theravada emphasizes personal effort. We can see that, of course, in the the idea of the arhat. This is a person through their own self-effort. This is not someone who relies on other individuals. This is the monk or the nun off by themselves, meditating, seeking insight, and achieving nirvana. On the other hand, of course, from Mahayana, right, the heavens are filled with people who are wanting to reach out to others and help them achieve nirvana. It's not something that you have to go through on your own. And as we mentioned, of course, that's exemplified in the arhat and the bodhisattvas. And so all of this demonstrates to us these two different types of Buddhism, their different approaches, and how they have developed over the centuries. I want to talk about two specific types of Mahayana Buddhism. These are not necessarily representative of all types, nor are they the only ones. I believe Cordovan goes into other ones that would be examples of Mahayana Buddhism. But I want to focus on these two. The first of these is Pure Land Buddhism. Pure Land is a rather interesting one for me. It developed probably around the 300s CE, so this side of Christ, in India, but really becomes popular in Japan in the so-called Middle Ages. Pure Land Buddhism focuses on a man known as Amitayus or Amenhotpa. His name in Japanese is Amida, and so that's the one that tends to get used a lot. Amida was believed to have been a Buddha who lived prior to Siddhartha Gautama. Now remember, of course, the Mahayanists believe that there are a variety of Buddhas, not just Gautama. Well, one of the things that was unique about Amida is that Amida supposedly had taken upon himself these bodhisattva vows. He had vowed that he was not going to achieve final enlightenment until he was able to help others achieve enlightenment. And specifically, one of his vows was to create a pure land. Now, here is one of the places in Buddhism that is similar to the monotheistic religions, including Christianity. This is the closest thing in Buddhism that we have towards a heaven, and that the Pure Land was going to be a place where people could reach, right? People that wanted to achieve enlightenment, people could reach, and it would be a place of streets and buildings made of jewels. It's going to be a place where there's no suffering or death. And all those kind of things would be unknown in heaven, and these kind of things would be, it would be a place that would be better for individuals to achieve nirvana. And so this is one of the things that Amida decides to do. He's going to create this Pure Land. And the way that you achieve this Pure Land, the way that you're reborn into the Pure Land instead of being reborn life after life in this world, is through your trust in Amida, your faith in Amida. It is not through any sort of works or meditation, but through belief that Amida can help you achieve this. Now remember, this is the 300s in India when this starts. So it's very likely here that there's a possibility, we shouldn't rule it out, that there's an influence here of Christianity, because by the 300s especially it would have traveled that far. There are some historical traditions that the Apostle Thomas had reached India. I wouldn't know exactly how accurate we can consider that, but certainly by the 3rd century after Jesus, the likelihood that Christianity has reached this far is very likely. So, this trust in Amida, in Amida's grace, seems to be something that could very likely be shaped by Christianity. And so the idea was that through chanting Amida's name, Namu Amida Batsu, which means homage to Amida Buddha, if you repeat that before death, you're going to be reborn in the Pure Land. And so, again, this another kind of emphasis on this is faith, this is grace, this is not this is not some sort of works or even self-power. Another, and perhaps pretty popular or pretty well-known form of Mahayana Buddhism is Zen. Zen originated in China as Chan Buddhism. Zen Buddhism is the Japanese name, and so we tend to know it more by the Japanese name. Around the 600s CE, and even into probably about the 1200s is when it makes its way to Japan. The focus in Zen is on a specific type of meditation known as Zazen. The focus here is to experience knowledge. Much of Buddhism, although there is a scriptural tradition and intellectual tradition in Buddhism, a lot of Buddhism, especially Mahayana, is based on experience of knowledge and not, intellectual knowledge. And so the focus is on this very stiff, well, not stiff, but the very still sitting meditation that is very focused. It's kind of a self-power individual effort. And the focus of Zazen is to clear the mind. It's the focus of a person is to experience enlightenment in this life. Right? The Zazen is going to help you achieve that. And so what they are looking for in Zen Buddhism is the experience of Satori. Satori is the enlightenment experience in Zen Buddhism. Right? This is what you're looking for. It's this flash of light, or not flash of light, flash of insight that you are to experience. And this is essentially what is achieved here is the insight into the interconnectedness of all things. And so you have been meditating for this insight. You're not meditating on a scripture. You're not meditating on the Buddhas. You are meditating for insight. And so, the Zazen, Zen Buddhism tends to be what we might call iconoclastic, right? Meaning that they want to break down traditions. They're anything that's it's an idol or an icon, tear that down. Doctrine is a crutch, right? Teachings are obstacles, and they distract you from, achieving Satori. Even being a Buddhist, and really saying, well, I'm a Buddhist, can be pretentious in such a way that too needs to be destroyed. One of the ways that Satori is achieved through this meditation is through meditating on what are known as koans, or cases, some of which you probably have heard of. Essentially, these are these problems that people are to meditate on until they come up with an answer. And by resolving this problem, they will achieve Satori. So the traditional one, the classic one, is what is the sound of one hand clapping? Some other ones would be, what was your original face before your parents were born? They're not meant to have this kind of logical answer. They are meant to be, something that you work through. You're searching for insight. And so there's very upright posture, lack of movement. You're clearing your mind. You have inward calmness. Okay? You're contacting your natural mind, so to speak, is what the way it's talked about. And you're meditating on these problems, attempting to discover what it is that will help you achieve Satori.